Good Monday, everyone, and welcome to Perspectives. It is Monday, February 22nd, 2021. It's a really beautiful Monday morning. Very crisp. Yep. And trust you are waking up to face the new day. And of course, joining us this morning for Perspectives, fresh perspectives as we get your start to the week on current affairs. Of course, our great talk panel is here as per usual. Senator Christopher De Allie and Mr. Byron Campbell. I am Brenda Baptiste. Good morning, everyone. Wherever you're joining us on MTV. And of course, if you are with us on the virtual platforms, all the virtual platforms that carry perspective. So we welcome you to the program. And I say good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Brenda. Good morning to our viewers and our listeners, and of course, the last Monday in February.
Yeah.
So we trust that all went well for the weekend. I had a quiet weekend. I think the main thing for me this weekend was the fact that we had the extra 2 hours started on Friday, and the impact of that, the lifting of the 2 hours, so we know our curfew is now from 12 to 4, and I think that had a significant impact for the people in the entertainment business and the restaurateurs and the guys on Wall Street, guys and gals on Wall Street. So I think it went well. I think a lot of people welcomed that extra 2 hours. It made a difference for the people's psyche and some of the businesses in that particular area, the food and drinks business. So I thought that was a good move, and I think it went down well. Outside of that, I was enjoying, a certain mandarin fruit over the weekend, given to me by a certain friend of ours on this program.
Yes.
And I must say how pleased I am, and I'm hoping that I could get more.
I have to say the same. Thanks for putting in the more part. Yes, but those mandarins are really delicious. Thank you so much. And I trust I could get a fill. Because last week I was on vitamin C. Topper.
Kudos for the agriculture.
Thank you.
Agriculture, man.
Morning, and all Monday morning. As I was telling Brenda this morning, I base time on perspective, how the Mondays roll around. But the weekend, agricultural-wide pruning sows up, although pretty lasting is certainly an issue, but harvesting citrus also. Hospital actually consumed quite a bit, I must say, which is good. But colleagues, I spent a part of the weekend looking at a UN report, making war with nature, and I think that somehow had me in a lot of reflection. What the report has done, it shows the latest science on climate change and mankind, quote unquote, war on the environment. But it argues that amid our pursuit of wealth and security, we must learn the fundamentals of nature and how to value it in terms of the natural capital, in particular the geology, the soil, the air, the water. And we need to do this urgently. I mean, there are some positive things happening internationally with the Paris Agreement, with the US getting back into there. But we have to learn to think, I think, more, think globally, but act naturally. And we can't take it for granted. It is urgent and it's immediate. I think in Grenada we've had some positive policies, but we can do better. For example, the sand mining. I think this was a major achievement to reduce, to manage our coastal environment, but we still see that we've made some blunders and mistakes. If you look at St. David's and St. Patrick's, we have to better manage that. And I think a major responsibility falls on the physical authority, the new authority. In other words, that they have the expertise there, that they have the personnel there to ensure that the EIAs that we done or scrutinize are well done, and so we can go forward. Because we have to think futuristic. We have to think about more of the future generations, not just about ourselves. And I want to make a pitch on that this morning. I think it's critical, how individually and I think that the Grand Lake issues with the alternative energy, with the renewable energy, that's a big deal. And how, as a nation, we really begin to transfer from the fossil fuel. So as we expand, I think critical area, the environment, and we need to reflect on it on a daily basis, Brenda, personal habits.
Yeah.
That was my kind of, I think it's an interesting report. We should, it's on the UN site. It's called Making Peace with Nature. It's an excellent piece, very simple to ingest, and it affects us all.
Right.
You know, listening to Byron, Brenda, you know, I didn't want to get too emotional this morning on this topic, but I'm going to say it nonetheless.
Yeah.
Because it had me very upset yesterday when I went on the beach. I normally go on the beach on a Sunday. And, you know, going down to the spicing end, and when you saw the amount of garbage that was left on the beach, that this particular Sunday, the Kentucky boxes, the plastic cups, the bottles, the wine bottles, I mean, it was so disgusting to see the way in which our people behave and how we litter. I mean, I always say without apology, we are a nasty set of people, you know, because the way in which we do it. And, you know, the irony of the thing to me is they go on the beach to enjoy the beach and the environs and whatever, the sunset and whatever. I'm sure if they come back tomorrow and the garbage is left, they won't go where the garbage is. No. They will want to choose another part of the beach that's nice and clean spot, and spotless, but they leave it there. And I mean, it was really disheartening to see that. And this reminds me of, you know, years ago when I hiked and we went to Mount St. Catherine, and one of the guides said, Mr. Daddy, you will be surprised. Just before you reach the summit, you're going to see something to surprise you. I went just before the summit in Mount St. Catherine. The level of garbage.
Mount St. Catherine?
Mount St.
Garbage?
Catherine.
Oh my God.
I mean, can you believe it?
Wow.
And we are a people, we hike, we go with our snacks, but we just find we must just throw it and leave it instead of take it back with us. It's a mindset that is really, you know?
I always find it's kind of stranger because when you're going in, let's say you're going on a picnic or you're going hiking, you're going in with your water, your food, so the bag is heavier. On your way out, it's lighter. So to me, it's always easy. To me, it makes sense it's so much easier to carry your garbage away because on the way out or after your activity, it's less. And I mean, you just want to have things or leave things in the same pristine state in which you met them.
I say that in conjunction to Byron's thing about, you know, having and taking, you know, attention, paying attention and securing what we have and cherishing it. Governance is one of our big things and gem of ours, and we treat it this way. And I mean, I don't know, and you know, some of them have this thing about, well, if we don't leave it there, we won't create jobs for people to clean.
I mean, and right now, if we focus in on St. George's becoming the one of the green cities of the Caribbean, you'd want to look for things like, because of the historical nature, you'd want to look for things like UNESCO declaring some heritage site, because we have so many in Grenada. But then they look at all of that, our behavior, how we, you know, we treat with our waste and so on. So we really need to step it up.
There's another dimension. I want to throw it to Chris in particular, as the economist, as a business person, that the metrics, and I refer to it as the controversial metrics, that is the gross domestic product, the GDP, which we use to measure growth. In other words, it overstates the progress because it failed to capture the environmental degradation that takes place. For example, you can be overfishing, and because you're catching a lot of fish, your GDP is going up, but your stock is going down. So that's a degradation. Or if you're cutting down your forest and you have more timber, then your GDP is going up, but your forest is being degraded. And so you're not accounting adequately for the real growth or the loss in the environment. So I think this kind of balance, particularly in planning and implementation, need to be
It has to be. I mean, we can't. I mean, we talk about the blue economy, and we mentioned this many times, and it's so much larger than the normal economy that we know because we're surrounded by so much sea. But at the end of the day, we have this phenomenon now with the sharks that is happening. We saw the last video with the shark that was caught down at Dr. Groom's beach, and apparently it appeared that the shark was in trouble because it ingested plastic. So it wasn't breathing properly. Yes, the guys pull it up and do the whatever. But there is a shark issue now in the Caribbean that we don't seem to understand what is happening. Why the sharks are coming in,
beaching,
these mako sharks and so on, which are normally...
And then mako sharks don't come this side, really.
That's right. And so it is, you know, Byron, we don't do studies we do very little studies in the Caribbean about the same environmental thing that we talk about.
And we have all these universities and so on.
When we had the issue with the CA, what we call the white sea egg, the urchins.
Yeah.
And, you know, most people will say we were overfishing it, not understanding St. Lucia did a study and they found out that they actually eat out themselves. Not that we overfish it. Whenever they land in an area where there is a lot of food, they will eat until all the food disappears. And they start to die.
Right.
That is a phenomenon of a particular species.
Yeah.
But it's something we don't study enough.
Yeah.
You know, what is happening in our environment, what is happening in our fisheries, the science, temperature changes.
Yeah.
We do some, but it does, to me, it doesn't really relate to the EIAs that we're talking about, how that is changing. When we see what's happening in Texas with the winter.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's any sort of doubt about whether we have world climate change and what is happening, I think Texas was a good example that
it's true.
We have some sort of
climate change and poor infrastructure management.
But I mean,
one of the most painful thing I saw was a family warming snow to have water. That really touched my heart. But just to move back a bit to what Mr. Campbell was saying, on the Discovery Channel on Saturday morning, there was this very interesting program. And this gentleman was saying, of course, he said he's theorizing. There was about 4 of them, but it just set your mind to thinking and to wondering, and you hoping that they would come up with more. That he's saying that in the next 20 years, we are going to be seeing more viruses and so on. Of course, you know, there are more microbes more than humans in the world. But he has linked what he did was to link it to what's going on with the climate. He is saying that the natural habitat where all these things supposed to live and grow and bloom, we humans have imposed on them. So it's like they have nowhere to go. So it's like they're turning on us. And, you know, I sat there and I was like, oh my God, and not to wax religious or anything. If you believe in God and you read the Bible and so, remember, human, plant, animal, we're supposed to coexist harmoniously. For everything he created under the sun, there is a reason. But human beings, we have just taken over and done many crazy things.
That's an important point. It's called biodiversity. Big word, but that's simply what it means. You explained it there, in that we so much species are under threat as we speak right now. But I want to make a positive point about Chris made about sea urchins. Chris, you know, on the West Coast, I'm talking about from Fontenoy right up to the Molinier Point. Right. It is a grass seabed there, and sea urchins there. There are thousands and thousands there, because I swim the area and I know. So that's a real comeback we've had of the sea urchins, and I think that part of it is because there's been an outstanding ban on the harvesting.
And the MPAs and
so we've made a real, I've seen very, very positive development. So it demonstrates that if we manage it better, of course, we have better results.
It's the same thing with our hunting with iguanas and these things. You know, there's a move now in an education that when you hunt, you don't go for the adults as before, because the adults is the one that keep the species going. You take the mid-range. Because the more you kill out the mature females and the males, you kill the population faster. So there's a re-education, and Byron is correct. When I mean, our people and our hunters, I always say they are generally very responsible. You have the odd extreme, but generally they when they say they close the season is closed. Those guys respect it. And they go ahead. So I mean, even for lobsters, I mean, all of these things, you know, you get what I see. I don't see a lot of Byron is crabs. I think there's an overhunting in crabs, and that's something we need to pay some attention to, because as Brenda say, everything has its purpose.
Every single thing.
So that's one of the things. I mean, where I live in Fort Judy, used to be a huge crab area.
There's been a lot of poisoning, taking place.
Right. Well, that too, I didn't think about that. But
we're killing the crabs out.
Oh boy. You know, and development too. So if you have a place, and you know,
But that is something that I mean, I know some guys farm crabs. They actually hold them, they take them, and they feed them, and there's a farming kind of thing. But it's one of those things, and I fully support your move on this environmental thing.
Before we introduce our special guest this morning, on Thursday, I was involved in an activity that I just want to highlight for all that we say about social programs and what is going on and the impact COVID is having. So it was this global forum, really, people from all over the world, but there was a lot of people, islanders, people from the Caribbean on it. They were mostly single mothers, and the discussion was on how COVID was impacting them.
Yeah.
And so all we say and all the scoff we're making about social funds and everyone was reporting that in their jurisdiction, social funds and so on mushrooming because it was necessary to take care of people. But what I want to highlight is that we pay a lot of attention to single mothers and so on and so forth. But there were two men on the panel, and one of them was from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And he highlighted something that really struck a chord with me, and I don't want to get emotional about it because it really, oftentimes we really don't think about the struggles that men face and how COVID has sort of emasculated men who are accustomed to bringing home the bacon and, they're feeling less of themselves as they can't provide for their families and so on. And, he got very, very personal that at home, because he was always around, he was always working. So with COVID, he's always around. And it's like, his partner is like, she can't stand him being there. Why ain't going to look for work to do? Why, And it was really, really, I mean, if one man in the Caribbean could highlight that, it might be a lot as the same for many other men. And so we have to pay attention to that, because in Grenada here we have lots of men who do construction work and other work, that hotel work, and so that they're at home and they're no longer able to provide for their families, because that's a man feel like a man when he can do that. Men want to feel like they're needed, and that's their role, the head of the household, and when that happens, that really creates, so we are going to see mushrooming of, yes, social funds, but social degradation. I mean, more alcoholism, domestic violence, all these things because of those sorts of situations. Because if he imagine a situation where he has not worked for about 8 months, that's what he's saying, and he feels less of a man because he can't provide for his family, and his partner is not being supportive because she's accustomed to a man going to work, out for the day, and then just bringing home, and that, I mean, I never really thought about this thing. Another thing related to that, one of the men, the two men on it, the other one was from Ghana. He highlighted that in Ghana there are suicides. Lots of men are suicidal because of that kind of thing. So I think I raise it to have us have a think, and also to just pay attention to our men. Because for all we do, we always pay attention to the single mother, the deprived female, the abused female, but on the other side, these are the things happening that we need to strengthen. So I just thought I'd raise that this morning.
So it's a critical point, I think, Brenda. So we can say single parents rather than single mothers, or because male are also part of the grouping. So in my work, I find out that yes, there are, and in fact, the program involved with cater for. In terms of affirmative action, looks at single parents. So we recognize it's a much smaller quantity, but they exist. And I agree with you, particularly now with COVID, we had to look at the psychological impact, because that's a major issue. We assume, and for the male, it's about dignity. Inability, therefore, to provide for your family, you feel lost. And what thoughts go through your mind? So when we look at supportive mechanism, we have to consider gender across the board.
Absolutely. We'd like to say special thank you to the GCNA. We have teas this morning from a GCNA. Nutmeg spice tea, it's called. Yes, we have lemongrass, my favorite, and we have cocoa, moringa, and the original. So great job by GCNA. Of course, GCNA, there's a store at the GCNA complex where you can go in and get those, and you should find those at your supermarkets. Really tasty
patrons of the
stuff.
store. I must indeed say they have lovely products inside here. I want to give them a big up. Certain persons on this program
I love the boxes.
Shouldn't talk about them because they
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me
But,
tell it to the Allie talk. Not those who have interest, not those who farm in cocoa and administering things.
No,
Farming nutmegs.
I think they have some lovely value added. There's a nutmeg cooler drink that they also do. There's a lovely drink, and I want to encourage people
Yes.
to, go and inquire and buy and so on. It's reasonable. It's a lovely tasting drink. I think they use the cocoa pod to make this drink and get it. So they're doing some lovely products. And as I say, I only drink these local teas, so I'm happy to patronize. So yeah,
It's awesome.
kudos to the new senator and the team and the board.
Yes.
I mean, I'm normally highly critical of Nutmeg Association, so I'm happy to give them kudos.
We're delighted. We're delighted to GCNA.
Yeah.
And the packaging, if the camera could just come up a bit, it's really a shuttle house.
Yeah,
it's
lovely.
it's one of the original shuttle houses, of course, and the windows with the, what do you call that, jalousie. And then we even have the flora and fauna coming over.
The creativity is lovely.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
so, and the taste is exceptional. So well done, GCNA.
Well done.
Yeah.
Byron, don't say a word.
Don't say a word. Don't say a word. Don't say a word. Don't say a word. Well, folks, we take a quick break. When we come back, we are speaking this morning with our Minister of Health, the Honorable Nickolas Steele. Of course, Grenada is getting ready to go on its vaccination inoculation program, and we are going to hear all about that from the Minister. We take a quick break, and we'll be right back on Perspectives.
Dreaming of taking a break and escaping to an idyllic, happy place? Well, finding it does not require you to go too far. You already live in paradise. All it takes is for you to go out and discover it. Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique are blessed with a wide variety of accommodation that satisfy any taste and budget. Find the one that suits you and your family and treat yourself while having peace of mind that your health and safety is a priority. Knowing that we have gorgeous waterfalls, stunning beaches, and flavorful cuisine, let's be tourists in our own islands and enjoy paradise at home.
Are you gonna wear your mask today? You see everywhere you go, there are rules you got to. Hey, are you gonna wear your mask today? You see everywhere you go, there are rules you got to follow, so don't you say COVID-19 will delay. Take the opportunity to save your community. Don't be that guy, put a mask on your face if you're heading outside. It's your life, my life, more lives we'll be taking if we don't try. If you feel any symptoms, call the hotline. Stay inside until you feel fine. 6 feet away every day. Keep COVID-19 far from work. Keep Grenada safe. Be COVID-19 smart.
Welcome back to Perspectives. If you're just joining us this morning, we welcome you to the broadcast. All of you who are with us on air, that's on MTV, and online on the various Facebook pages. This morning, our special guest is the Minister for Health, the Honorable Nickolas Steele, and we say good morning to you, Minister.
Good morning, Brenda, and good morning to your co-hosts and all of your viewers and listeners out there.
Mr. Friday last, it was 1 week since you got the Zugu, as we used to say in primary school. How are you feeling?
On top of the world, and I feel a lot more comfortable having received it. Basically, I now have 60% coverage or immunity to COVID-19. My body will be able to fight it off, and I'm looking forward to all of our Grenadian citizens being able to get it. Today, we're beginning the runoff in Radisson for frontline hospitality sector workers.
What are the projected numbers for those hospitality workers? What are you expecting to see?
This is on island. As of Friday, we had vaccinated just over 300 individuals. That is focusing specifically within the health sector and armed forces, and we also had offered to Port Authority. I am now expecting that as we go out into the hospitality sector, we're going to get a much larger uptake. For instance, this morning already, based on the appointments we have, it's over 200 persons already scheduled for the morning. So I'm thinking that we probably will optimistically get to use up most, if not all, of this batch of vaccinations by the end of this week.
Of our inventory and where we're going, can you tell us?
Currently on island, there were 6,000 doses received, approximately, which is vaccination. And we expect to use up that by this week or into next week, which should coincide with the arrival of the second batch of vaccines. Logistics throughout this COVID pandemic has been a nightmare, but we're hoping that we can get everything to coincide in time.
Okay.
Good morning, Minister. Good to hear that you have no other effects of your initial first shot. I want to ask you a question on relating to frontline and ask if there is any consideration to add teachers to that list of frontline. I know the normal frontline is health workers, police, and medical people, and so on. Is there any consideration to include teachers as part of that first group or first batch, because of the importance of them being and getting school to normalize as much as possible?
Most definitely, Chris. Basically, we refer to frontline here in Grenada because we do not have community spread. Those who are dealing with health, law enforcement, but also hospitality, because we have a quarantine system in place to help keep our country safe from COVID. So the second run, after dealing with all of those who would be interacting with people coming in from countries that currently have COVID-19, would most definitely include our teachers as part of that group that deal with large groups of individuals or teachers interact with our students on a daily basis. Similarly, bank workers, those who work in supermarkets, etc. Anyone who deals with the public at large. And our teachers most definitely qualify there.
One of the things with this vaccination is the fact that we need to get to herd immunity, which the science says we need to get to at least 70 to 80% of our people vaccinated, which in our case is about 70,000 of us. I mean, I am aware that the youth population in Grenada accounts for about 30% of our population. So is it the focus that we're going to put primarily on the more mature elderly population, more so than the youth, and concentrate so we can get to herd immunity as quickly as possible?
That is correct, Chris. Basically, the vaccination has two purposes. One, which is to create that similar herd immunity, but most definitely to make sure that those who are more susceptible to severe symptoms are vaccinated first and therefore protected first. So that's why the focus is on the elderly first and foremost, and then moving down to younger individuals. That's why for us as well, the focus has been on the frontline individuals, those more likely to be exposed to the vaccine, and then deal with those more likely to have severe symptoms from the vaccine, and then all of us.
Byron?
Minister Steele, good morning. Pleasant day to you. Minister, there's no question that the vaccine is a safer way to help build protection nationally and to deal with managing the pandemic and overall. But here in Grenada, my own assessment, and that's based on spot checks, checking individuals, young people. My analysis is that a significant amount of our population, particularly the young population, not limited to them, are expressing doubt and reluctancy regarding taking the vaccine. What is the ministry's plan or strategy to reach these individuals, to deal with the doubts and the conspiracy theories and other factors out there, given this situation?
Yep. Byron, this entire pandemic has dealt with the ministry's challenge has been one to provide proper and appropriate health care, but in particular also to deal with disinformation and misinformation. The vaccination portion of this pandemic is no different. Majority, if not all, of the individuals who are expressing some skepticism or anxiety about the vaccination and the vaccination process have been vaccinated previously themselves and never questioned it. In fact, never even asked for a fact sheet, just stood in line and received the vaccine. Now we are more aware of the situation and therefore are asking questions. 58, as was said, not just by us, but by I think that Barbados Prime Minister put it most appropriately in our language that we can understand. 58 million people have been vaccinated in the United Kingdom alone, and not one of them have died. Just like in the beginning, we have skeptics. We have our own young people who needed to hear that somebody they knew in our diaspora or so caught COVID-19 and died from COVID-19 for them to believe that COVID-19 existed. They need to hear and see somebody from the diaspora, from the community, receive the vaccine to see for themselves. I need to kick the tires and see for myself that this vaccine actually exists and this vaccine actually works. It's regrettable, but it is a reality that we live in. That we will take a virtual message from a news agency that we've never heard of before, or an individual that we've never seen or heard from before, and take that to say, well, as a result of that, I actually want to see some people get the vaccine first before I go to get it. And where in the past, where we were not as connected virtually, we would be more than willing to stand in line and receive the vaccine for measles, for rubella, for polio, all of the various other diseases that keeps us alive. Vaccines, that keep us alive now.
Minister, just to pick up on what you just said about, the misinformation and so on, and we cannot deny the fact that probably it is winning at this time in terms of people's cynicism and skepticism to doing this. What are we planning to do here in Grenada as it relates to public education to at least get people an understanding, or to make them, come around to realizing the importance of the vaccine?
It's information, Brenda. It's getting as much information as possible. It's getting individuals who have received the vaccine to date speaking for themselves, to their peers, to their neighbors, to their family, to say, yes, I have received it. And yes, it is okay, as the science says, as the rest of the world says. More individuals have received the vaccine to date now, finally, thank God, than individuals who have been infected by COVID-19. And that's the kind of progress that has been made with vaccination. So I think people just need to begin to read the facts and not the misinformation and disinformation. I've spoken to many people too who have expressed their skepticism. And in general, we're on a wait and see. I want to wait and see if anything happens to anybody who got it before I go get it. And in the waiting and seeing, we can have another incident of cluster or end up with community spread, and that person ends up in hospital or worse, with a fatality, because they were waiting to see if a vaccine that has been working for hundreds of millions of people around the world, that other countries are fighting to get more and more of, waiting to see if it actually works.
Going to see a communication strategy, a public education program or initiative by the government?
Yes, Brenda, I'm not going to fight, and the Ministry of Health is not going to fight the population on this. We recognize people's right and their rationale for skepticism. We can provide information. We do recognize that people went on their own and found the information, etc., that causes skepticism. It came from certain appearances of mainstream media that were not mainstream media for disinformation. It comes from certain sensational headlines that are actually misleading when you actually read the meat of the article. But most persons are guided by the headlines and keep going from headline to headline as we scroll through Facebook or any other form of social media. So it is to provide the information. It is to make sure that those who are willing to be vaccinated get vaccinated, and that, like everything else, there will be those who follow based on some individuals who are in front of them. And we hope that it won't be too late for those who are skeptical and need to see more information and more information. There has not been that general request for information. There has been now, I find, individuals who are just simply saying, I want to wait and see. I want to take that chance. We had individuals who said, I need to hear more from other people that the mask will actually work. I need to hear more from other people that this COVID thing actually does kill people. So individuals are skeptical. The ministry will be there to provide as much information as possible to anyone who needs that information. And in fact, individuals don't even have to wait for us. The same sources that they got, the same medium that the misinformation is there. We do see that it's changing now as more and more countries get to that higher level of vaccination. Facts become facts, and more people are able to speak clearly to say that they have been vaccinated and it is fine. We have the United Kingdom now announcing as of this morning that because of the level of vaccination they are beginning to roll back on all of the restrictions. We have Israel saying the same thing. We have the United States and Europe contemplating that as soon as they get to a certain level. We have Barbados at 14,000 individuals vaccinated. So we will see examples, and it's not just the Ministry of Health, because there's a certain amount of doubt in people's minds of their government. And in Grenada, it's of the Grenada government. In the UK, it's of the UK government. And we need to see other countries moving ahead of us and get a certain amount of envy maybe, or a certain amount of trust to say, well, if it's okay there, then it must be okay here. So it's two fronts. It's providing the information and making sure it's accessible, making sure that individuals who are no longer skeptical are able to be vaccinated, and then the general change in a position, worldwide position, as more and more people get vaccinated.
So, Minister, I want to ask a question now on the types of vaccine that is going to be available for us. I know the one we're using now is the Moderna vaccine, the two-dose one. Is there any contemplation by your ministry to say use something like the Cuban alternative, which is Soberana, I believe, or Sovereign, as it's put in English, Sovereign 2, to understand whether or not there will be some contemplation of using others besides the Pfizer and the Moderna, and see if there's a possibilities of Caribbean people looking at that as a possibility, because I mean, we know Cuba has been a country that have been way advanced in terms of their medical situation, even in the vaccinations, and the industry is one of great respect. Is there any contemplation by Caribbean governments? I know we wait on WHO and PAO approval for these vaccines, but is there any conversations and contemplations to use a vaccine coming out of Cuba when their studies are complete?
But Chris, just to correct you, we're using the AstraZeneca vaccination right now throughout the Caribbean. Moderna and Pfizer have not been used throughout OECS CARICOM. That's not a rejection of. Moderna has a contract with the United States to give all of their vaccines to the United States. And in fact, the United States has increased the amount by, I think, by another 100 or 200 million that they need to get from Moderna before Moderna to export. Similarly, Pfizer, BioNTech, their production is totally tied up for Europe. AstraZeneca was totally tied up for Europe and for the UK as well, but AstraZeneca has a partnership with the largest vaccine manufacturer in the world, which is in India. And Serum Institute, that's where we are getting, and the rest of the world is getting, the AstraZeneca vaccination from. We have held hard and fast and will continue to hold hard and fast. It is not about where the vaccine is produced. It is about the vaccine being cleared by WHO and Pan American Health Organization, and not just the vaccine itself, production site. I have some technical difficulties this morning. The production site for the vaccine also has to be. So if and when, I firmly believe that it will be a when, that our brothers and sisters in Cuba have a vaccine that is approved by WHO, Pan American Health Organization, most definitely it would be something that we would look at in the same way that we expect imminently to see other vaccines approved within the next week or two. That is the Sputnik out of the US, out of Russia, and the Sinopharm out of China. So we are looking and observing, but holding hard and fast to a principle of WHO, Pan American Health approval of a vaccine, and then we will use it or make it available.
Cost to the country of these vaccines. What is your estimation is going to cost us as Grenadians to, first of all, obtain the vaccines and then to roll it out? Because there is going to be a significant cost, I suspect, in organization, how we roll this out, the persons to administer the vaccines, the follow-up, and then, of course, I'm going to come to the issue of the vaccine passport in a while. But in terms of cost to us as a government and our people, what is your estimation from the Ministry of Health as it relates to this issue?
The cost per vaccine, per dose, is somewhere between $5 and $15 US per dose, and then you have the logistics to get it here, which sometimes can be twice as much because there's a cold chain, and this can't be shipped just by regular freight or so. Plus the syringe that has to be used and all of the other material storage, individuals, a healthcare worker that has to administer. So it's quite a considerable amount, and it's into the millions, definitely, and will end up being high figures for us. But it is a necessary cost that this government must go through. We need to get back to that area that we were before COVID-19, economically, socially, in our own psyche, and health-wise in particular. So it is a cost that we have to go through, but Chris, it's millions.
Question on this is the use of vaccine as a vaccine passport and how that is going to impact our tourism and getting our tourism back up to the, probably not pre-COVID levels, but at least to some level of normalcy. And the need for, I've seen people who have gotten vaccine being issued a little card. Is there a contemplation of having this done digitally, as I know is done in probably Barbados, so that when you get your vaccine, you could digitally upload it on your phone. So if you have to go anywhere and you have to produce it, it's available as a digital record. Is there any contemplation by our Ministry of Health to get us to that point where we can have it done on a digital platform?
Most definitely. Our vaccine registration is digital. So individuals receive a card because traditionally we want to receive a card. So that's why we've been giving out the card. But it is digital, and the expectation is, as you have implied, for traveling, there will be the need for that digital certificate. So we have the ability to do that. So let me reiterate that giving out of the physical card is out of tradition. But our vaccination process in this instance and previously is digital and able to give you that digital certificate that's verifiable. It's not just a picture of, but a verifiable digital certificate. We have been working with CARFA and Pan American Health Organization to make sure that vaccine passport or certificate is one that can be certified and verified by Interpol all the way up to that level, so that each country, including us, can tell the world who we vaccinated and what batch of vaccines they got, and also anybody coming into Grenada. We can verify what vaccine they received, what batch, when, where, and etc.
Mr. Look, your ministry, the government of Grenada, and by extension the people of Grenada, we have done well in terms of the management of the pandemic or the COVID-19. Reasons to be proud, and maybe that success is somehow having a negative effect because persons are thinking, look, I'm not sick, we are not sick, we have no cases, why take the vaccine? I'm just resting that there. But the question to you, Minister, is regarding the rollout, regarding the vaccination of the Grenadian population. We've heard sporadic pieces here, frontline workers, but there's an overall policy because in terms of the age group, in other words, going forward, because the people are out there and they want to know, where do I stand? What is my position? So is there an overall policy outlining the categories and approximately when it would happen based on your vaccine flow? Could you elaborate on this overall, please, Minister?
Yes, Byron. The policy remains the same regionally. Grenada is not any different because COVID-19 in Grenada is not any different. The only difference is whether you have community spread or you have a cluster, active cluster at present. So it is to get frontline workers first and foremost. Then it is for 65 and with underlying conditions that put them at risk. So that will be the rollout. What we have done is just simply made it more of a voluntary on this first batch for our frontline workers, and have included in our frontline workers those who are doing quarantine and in the hospitality sector dealing with individuals in quarantine. But I would think by middle of this week, if not the end of this week, based on the uptake, that it would be open to individuals 65 and over and individuals with underlying conditions.
In terms of the targets for the population, Minister, I heard you say when you launched and the vaccine program that you're looking at 60% of the population. What is the estimated time to achieve this?
Well, Brenda, it depends on us. It's like saying the estimated time, if we had a community spread or a cluster outbreak, the estimated time to be able to reopen, or the estimated time to shut down when we were dealing with this COVID-19 in the beginning. It all depends on our population. Yes, the success of the Ministry of Health to educate people, or the government of Grenada to educate people, of our individual stakeholders, whether it is churches, unions, etc., to come on board and educate their membership, their followers, the uptake throughout the region, how influenced we are by friends and family in the diaspora. So in our New York East Coast area, or the U.S. in general, how much of our population gets vaccinated there and sends a message back home, it is okay to get vaccinated. That's going to dictate the rate. It's not like the use of other protective measures that we were able to put into law, the wearing of the mask and social distancing, etc. Vaccination is going to be based on individuals' desire. And I do believe when they start seeing certain first world nations announcing that you cannot travel to their country unless you are vaccinated, I think we
Oh, okay. This morning, just frozen? Yeah, well, we lost the minister, so we're just getting into a very interesting portion there as to him raising the point about, when first world countries and so we'll start saying that we have to get vaccinated to travel.
Look, again, I mean, we threw that the minister, I'm not clear in terms of, Brenda, I think you pressed him on this, the question of the rollout plan, but specifically the public relations, the PR, because it's true, we understand all the good reasons, positive reasons why we should take the vaccine, but a lot more information is required out there to convince persons to reach that quote-unquote herd immunity, natural and vaccine immunity that we need, so that we can congregate and do
but I think
things normal.
There's another issue I wanted to hear his take on, and that is to deal with Americans in the diaspora, or Grenadians in the diaspora, who have gotten vaccinated and believe now they have their vaccine, the 2 shots, they're ready to come home. What is going to be the policy surrounding that? Are they going to still be need to quarantine? Or are they going to be allowed to come in and into the community and move as normal? Because we're not sure. You have these questions. I have my 2 shots. I am vaccinated. I'm ready now. But then you also have the question of contagion. Am I still a person that could transmit the vaccine, transmit the disease, the virus, even though I'm vaccinated? The science seems to say that you're still a person that can cause. So do we still need to follow our protocols? Do we still need to mask? Do we still need to social distance? And so on. So we need to, part of the PR that I am saying that they're rolling out, just to deal with the vaccine and whether it is safe or not, also has to address some of these questions. Because we as a people need to know, if I meet a vaccinated person, do I still wear my mask with them? Do I not? And that kind of, so we need to be kind of include part of the science in the discussion of the need to take this vaccine and why we should take one over the other. There is talk now that I'm not sure if it's Pfizer or which one, that they have to store at the extreme low temperatures. They're now saying you no longer have to go so extreme at the temperatures, and that seems to be a better option in terms of the variants out there and what is happening with the South African variant, the English variant, and so on. So
I like where the conversation started to go just before he got zoomed out. And Minister, we do apologize. We thank you for waking up early, and we really want to hear more from you, because he seemed to have wrapped his head around exactly where we are going and what needs to happen. But he started to get to that point. You made a very good point there, Senator Allie, because what needs to happen, and I think I saw a public health official from the CDC saying this on CNN this weekend, that the vaccines are not a cure for COVID.
Yeah.
The vaccines are not a cure. So you get your 2 vaccines, you don't just run out and start palavering yourself. What it is is if enough of us takes this vaccine, it's building what they call herd immunity, just so that we are protected, that we're not transferring it at the quick rate. It's not as contagious as it was, and we can go back to some kind of semblance of normalcy and so on. Why is that critical for us? Because of everything now to fight COVID, we locked down because we had nothing between us and this virus. Now we have the vaccine between us and the virus. So those who get the vaccine, of course, they will be allowed to assemble and to travel and to roam and to socialize. But those who don't, it'll be like, we're not so sure. Hold on. Maybe it might be a threat if you are to mingle with us. And so all these things people just need to be clear of why it's happening. He made a very good point. As people see more people get the vaccine, they are gonna, and so maybe one of the things we can do, like he said, there are about 200 frontline workers lined up for the shots today. Ordinary people, your neighbor, your taxi driver, your car rental person, your hotel person, just as they get it, just say, I took the vaccine because I want to. Let us see their faces. Let us know who they are. So people start to feel, it starts to feel, it starts to feel relatable. And hey, what? Okay, Cosmo took the vaccine. Okay, all right, well, I have to take it too. You know, that kind of thing. So let us get to that point. Because he made a point that they're not going to fight with the public. But yeah, because the public is like, okay, the public, sometimes we behave as if we're the healthcare professionals. But people always have their opinion. The thing is, all you have to listen for is that they really don't know.
So let me
try. They just want to know more.
Let me try to works for you and this vaccine. We are carnival people. I'm throwing the word carnival, you know. And we are social people. We like to fet and beach and so on. Is it that for us to do our carnival thing as we know it, and with this vaccine coming, is it that we need to, as a people, say, listen, you know what, I want to play my job, but I think I have to vaccinate. Is it something that we could use and say, listen, boy, yes, we know the vaccines, probably a lot of the longitudinal studies have not been done, and there's not enough, you know, with this new mRNA platform and how it may affect us on the long term versus, you know, the typical vaccines we knew in the past. But is it something we could contemplate? Because Carnival is a huge cultural event for Caribbean people. Both from an economic standpoint and from a social standpoint. So, and, you know, I throw it out there because I believe, you know, it can help the ministry and the government think about how we could get people to accept this if we know that, you know.
So what you say, you throw a spanner? What spanner does do again? Spanner is disrupt things. Okay, so what does undo the spanner? What does work against the spanner?
You have to take it out and provide good information.
Okay, so, all right, so I'm coming against the spanner. I am going to say this morning that I believe Grenada, let me look into the camera and say that. And I believe Brenda Baptiste, citizen Brenda Baptiste, according to my good friend John Anthony Rollo, that Grenada is going to be the first island in the Caribbean to have carnival in 2021. I have just looked into the camera and I have said that this forever optimist here, I believe that.
And it affects all persons, you know, there's no this discrimination with this virus. Taking a vaccine could prevent you personally from getting ill, and your family and friends. And you have to think about this. This is really serious. What's the alternative? COVID-19 is here for a long time. It's not going away. You know, so this is part of the management.
What we have other variants?
Another variant. That's an important point, and that's a key reason why you also want to take the vaccine, because that vaccine, the larger the spread of this virus that we have, is the more possibility for different variants to
Correct.
develop.
Correct.
So if we reduce it, we compact it through the vaccine and the other social and protocols, and all of this, remember, we must continue, not because we have presently 0 cases in Grenada, and we don't know for sure. 0 cases recorded means that we must drop the face mask, stop the hand washing, stop the sanitization.
On the
it is
money.
critical that we continue this.
On the money, Mr. Campbell, because what the vaccine is actually doing, in the simplest of terms, is slowing the spread of this deadly virus, slowing the spread of this pandemic, which has crippled the world.
Absolutely.
That is what this vaccine attempts. That's all I know.
Yeah.
It's not curing it, but it is slowing it. And it's getting us to the point where enough of us get it, we could go back to hugging. I heard somebody say they miss hugging the Prime Minister.
I miss that too.
Yes,
Sure.
because we are a touchy-feely, warm, people. So that is what this vaccine is doing. Again, as the Minister stressed, it's a personal choice, it's voluntary, so on. But down the road, we do have to protect. We would have to protect against those who didn't have it.
Yeah,
I mean, at primary school, we got a vaccine. We didn't get mumps. We didn't get rubella. We didn't get measles. We didn't get these things. You know, it is what it is.
There's a huge economic side to it as well.
The
Minister has alluded that we spend millions, but the potential to gain millions by normalizing and is important. And you know, we have the SGU side of our economy, the GDP, and the huge impact. People need to understand the more that we get the students vaccinated when they come in with a vaccine passport, it is going to open back us up and the business and all the indirect business that comes from that. So it's important, not just to be a proponent of whether we should have it or not. And yes, it's a personal choice whether you take it or not. But it has significant issues for us economically, and small islands like us, Byron, in the agricultural area. The more we normalize, the more tourism come back, the more the students come back, the more mandarin, the more fruits, the more everything that they consume. So, I mean, and that is important for us.
The more people go back to full pay, full-time work.
Exactly.
Again, I'm taking the virus. I'm standing.
You're taking the virus. You're taking the vaccine.
I'm taking the vaccine. I'm standing in line for
I hope
the vaccine.
you're standing in line for the virus.
I'm standing in line for the vaccine. If it means overnight standing, I mean, I'm really upfront for it. It's important. Critical.
Another thing I'd like to say, this week, I ran into a lot of people who were saying, you know, why we have to take this vaccine and, you know, that kind of thing. From all walks of life, all, you know, strata of knowledge and so on and so forth. And there was an individual that said to me that in her church, you know, the preacher said that it's a conspiracy, it's a hoax, you know, they shouldn't take the vaccine. I'm just going to say this for whatever it's worth. People of influence, that's not the kind of messages to be sending. If you're preaching to your congregation, if you're talking to your students, if you're talking to your employees, if you're talking to your family, yes, you can state your personal conviction, but also because information is at our fingertips, misinformation too, but if we really want information, let us impart the right information. To stand in a church congregation and actually tell your congregants that they shouldn't take the vaccine, it's a hoax, it's a this, it's a that, and to give off this sort of, I think it's wrong.
Irresponsible.
If you feel like you're not going to take it, okay, that's fine, but do not influence them in that manner.
I would say
don't do it.
More so than right, your information must be factual.
Correct.
More so than right or wrong, because that is more a personalized thing, but the facts is what you need to put out there and let everybody make the choice on their own, you know, but it should be factual. And I believe that is where we need to take it.
I have a concern, Brenda, and I'm saying this is based on spot checks among I mean, I walk into Rennick & Thompson and arbitrarily I ask 3 persons there, no, I'm not taking it. Or meet a young person, I take, no. Are your friends going to take it? No. So that's what I'm saying from an information and educational point of view. This is voluntary. This is not mandatory. So it means that information out there clarifying a lot of the doubts that persons have is important, you know.
And that's why I asked a question about the public education. It's the same thing. Because people even stop in you. So, Brenda, so you're already taking that vaccine in truth.
Yeah.
And I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
So
You know, and
so-
if you talk to 10 people,
Yeah.
and that's the thing, because when you speak to people, you don't want to, you don't want to go on emotion.
Yeah.
And yes, there's been misinformation and there's this and
Yeah.
there's that, but I think our primary role is to really get people to understand
Yeah.
why they need to take
Yeah.
it. And the more faces they see, as I say, just
Yeah.
start with the people today.
Yeah.
As they come out, they have their card, they say, I took the vaccine,
Yeah.
yada, 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 yada. And people are just saying, people who are smart, people with PhDs, people who clean the road, people who like to drink a lot of rum, people who like to lime, people who conscious, they're telling you, me really know it now.
It's true. Yeah.
But I'll take that.
Yeah, because a lot of
and then
it
they'll
is,
say, by the way, where COVID really come out, and you know the whole conversation. So it's all of that sort of this kind of mystery and intrigue and conspiracy. So that is what you have to
Yeah.
work against, you know, and to get the result we want to get.
you know, the reality is, Brenda, I mean, when we were young people and we took our mum shot and our smallpox shot and so on,
We didn't have
we
social
didn't have
media.
social media, we didn't have all this information. But
The
it's
teacher
true.
tell
The
you
thing
how to
about
take
it
the
is
shot.
that
Yeah, to take the shot.
many of us did not die.
No.
You know, so I
We
mean,
never
need to,
get mumps, we never get
so we
measles.
need to also think back about where we are with vaccines and what
Yeah.
vaccines can do and what it has done. We have historical information, factual information. So
By
let
the
us
way,
pay
let's
attention.
not even pretend that vaccine it has not had its issues.
Of course,
Because
of
if we
course.
study the history of Africa and things that have happened there, yes, we know. But and you know why? If there ever was a time to debunk a conspiracy about a vaccine, it's now. Because the world is impacted by it. It's not one little corner in Asia or one little corner in Africa. The entire world.
Central Caribbean
Yeah,
and
yeah.
South American Caribbean is a huge thing for us.
But anyway,
We will continue that conversation.
we shall,
Yeah.
we shall. So final shots, gentlemen.
I will just say that I think all of us need to arm ourselves with proper information and make a decision on this vaccine and what is available. And as the minister indicated, this is about protecting ourselves, our neighbors, our friends, and trying to get our country back to normalization,
Yeah.
which is critical for us. And, take it from that point of view.
Yeah.
Educate yourself with factual information, not a lot of the conspiracy theory. The problem we have now with social media is filtering. We don't know what to filter in terms of proper information versus...
And we still have the kind of mental slavery where everything we see for the foreign face is true.
Yeah.
We even have people parading as doctors on social media or doctors on social media, really good doctors,
Yeah.
spreading misinformation.
So
Grenada, we have done well so far, and I'm
We have.
optimistic
should congratulate ourselves on
that,
the thing for that.
that will prevail in terms of reaching some acceptable level of immunity in time, critical for livelihoods again, and for, I mean, I not even call it the economy, livelihoods, persons getting back to work. So think of it that way. Don't think of the positive of you taking the vaccine, what we've done for the whole, So I remain optimistic, positive that we will overcome this, manage it at least, Brenda.
All right. And before we leave, just like to let folks know that this morning they can go to the Radisson, that is frontline workers, for frontline personnel, their vaccination from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Law enforcement officers, that is police, customs, and immigration. The port dock workers, airport workers, hotel employees, certified taxi operators. Entrusted workers must present a valid company photo or ID or an official ID inclusive of NIS, driver's license, or passport. All right, so that is from the Ministry of Health. That is happening.
important.
So we begin today in earnest.
Yeah.
Yeah, we begin today in earnest. So that's it. That's our program. Have a great week, everyone. It's the final week in February. February is coming to an end. March starts next Monday. We're in the third month of 2021 already. So anyway, thanks for viewing, everyone. We'd like to thank the Minister of Health, the Honorable Nickolas Steele. He's also the parliamentary representative for St. George South. We thank you so much for your time this morning, sir. And again, our regrets for the technical issues that we encountered. Hope we can continue our conversation with you, as where we ended was at a very, very, very pivotal point. Thanks to our technical team. Yeah, they had some challenges this morning, but we pulled through, and that's important. Everyone here, have a really, really good day. Until next time, and another Perspectives, I'm Brenda Baptiste. Bye-bye.